outside of Arm & Hammer Park. Very good stuff moments ago with the great boxer in Jerry Cooney, who was kind enough to join us live in Vegas as we get ready for this Mayweather and McGregor fight that will be coming up tomorrow night in Las Vegas. So should be some fun. We'll see how long this thing will last. But I thought the most entertaining fight was the fight yesterday in the Yankees game. How about that? Gary Sanchez getting some sucker punches in. He had a few brawls, a few bench clearing situations. Very entertaining stuff, and we'll see what the punishments will be from Major League Baseball. Now joining us is the great broadcaster, Adam Giardino, the voice of the Trenton Thunder, which you could hear tonight in the flagship station of the Trenton Thunder right here on Fox Sports 920 The Jersey. And Adam Giardino is kind enough to join us right now. Adam, what's up?
Hey, thanks. 11 games to go in the season. The Thunder have a magic number of 3, and actually that's 3 to clinch the division title. Binghamton has a doubleheader tonight beginning at 5 o'clock. So a couple of losses by Binghamton, a win by the Thunder tonight, and Trenton could be celebrating an East Division championship tonight.
I'm not great on my math, but 41 games over 500?
I thought you were going to say 2 plus 1 equals 3.
No.
Yeah, 41 games above 500, 85 and 44. So they lost yesterday. 42 games above 500 is the high water mark this year.
Wow.
The high water mark in franchise history came back in 1999. They were 90 and 43. They were 47 games above 500 at one point that year.
Now, you guys already clinched the playoff spot, and you also have to still clinch the division technically, which it's basically over right now. There's going to be no collapse in this thing. Did you guys have a celebration after you guys clinched the playoff spot?
Yes, we did, and that was Saturday in Harrisburg, and it was a bit of a backward situation because Friday night, Hartford and Reading were suspended in the middle of their game. It was 1-0. Hartford had a lead over Reading in the fourth. And Reading, if they had lost on Friday night, the Thunder would have been able to celebrate even though the Thunder lost on Friday. So that game got suspended. It got bumped to Saturday, and it got resumed Saturday and completed before the Thunder first pitch Saturday night. So actually before Trenton even had first pitch Saturday night, the Thunder knew they were in the playoffs. And the message was, no, we're still going to have to win to celebrate. So even though the Thunder would have clinched a playoff spot Saturday, if Trenton didn't rally for a victory Saturday night, there would have been no champagne down in the clubhouse.
So now the question that everyone wants to know, do you celebrate again this weekend if you clinch the division now finally?
No, we will not. There will be a little toast, I guess, in the clubhouse, in the lounge, but it's not going to be the full-blown popping champagne bottles, having to rip up the carpet kind of celebration that you're used to seeing.
Who was the biggest party animal on the Thunder? Who was having the most fun in the celebration?
Honestly, I felt like the guys were really, really enjoying themselves. It didn't seem like one more than the other. I thought it was really fun to just be down there and kind of bear witness to everything. The coaches were getting into it, everybody. It's a really small clubhouse in Harrisburg. It's kind of built like a submarine because Harrisburg's ballpark's on an island in the middle of the Susquehanna River, so it floods really easily. So you walk up to the clubhouse, and it looks like you're trying to enter an airtight door. I mean, you have to rip the thing open. It's all metal, and there really isn't a whole lot of space in there. So with about 30 people with couple dozen champagne bottles and a couple dozen more bottles of beer flying around and spraying everywhere with the tarp covering all the clubhouse lockers. It was a pretty fun scene, and it was hard to recede into the corner if you didn't want to be part of the celebration. So it really felt like everybody was getting involved.
Now, I don't want to be greedy here, and I don't want to get ahead of myself, but let's say the series coming up against Binghamton in the playoffs, assuming that's the matchup.
Yep.
Let's say you guys clinch at home. If I'm in the radio booth with you guys, just observing, making sure that everything's going good on the air, can I participate in the celebration afterwards if there's another celebration this year?
Yeah, we'll throw a tarp on the equipment. We'll let you take a water bottle and splash it around a little bit.
So no champagne. I don't get the clubhouse access.
No, you'll stay in the radio booth. John and I will head down into the clubhouse.
That's not nice. I want to have my goggles on, champagne, having fun, spraying it on Adam, spraying it on John with the champagne, go up to like Justice Sheffield, all these guys that have been on the show before, and have some fun. Jeez, I thought I'd treat you very nicely. I can't get in on the celebration. Bobby Mitchell wouldn't let me get in on the celebration.
We'll show you the pictures. We'll come back up. We'll have...
What are you, Facebook Live me?
Yeah,
Snapchat
exactly.
me? FaceTime?
That's it.
I don't know. Maybe this we're going to have some tough negotiations here on this radio contract. They may put it in the clause. Zach must be in all clubhouse celebrations. I bring the fun to the party. Adam Giardino here on the Zach Gelb Show. All right, let's get to what happened yesterday. Your reaction to, I guess we'll call it the malice at the palace.
Sure. I really thought, and it was interesting that it happened in the afternoon, because so often you ask our opinion on things.
Oh, sure.
But we're on air, and it's really hard for us
I was on air yesterday.
Yeah, it's hard
and I
to
don't
get
have a TV in my studio, so
Okay.
I saw the beauty of Twitter yesterday where everyone posts video of everything. So
Yeah, and so
it was crazy.
Leading up to the game, we actually had the benefit of just kind of be able to see piece by piece before ever getting on our show at 6:40 last night. The way it worked out, I think the unfortunate part was Dellin Betances hitting McCann.
You don't think that was intentional?
I don't believe so.
Interesting. I disagreed.
Yeah, I don't believe that once you have finally tied a game and you've gone after their guy, they've gone after yours, I think at that point, once Sanchez had been hit, Cabrera had been thrown behind, and then consequently ejected, and Sanchez has remained in the game.
It didn't make sense why he would intentionally do that, but we've seen before guys not make a lot of sense sometimes on a baseball diamond. I don't know, just seeing it from the instant it happened, when I just saw it and didn't think about the scenario, I just said, this is probably intentional.
I think that the home plate umpire, did the right thing by...
Yeah, you had to toss him.
By getting together, because I think the home plate umpire had the right initial instinct in thinking, this is not the right time for a guy to be throwing at a hitter. The game, you just come back from a 6-3 deficit, it's in the 7th inning. You would never, if it was 2 outs, bases empty, maybe, and then if you hit him in the head, you're gone immediately. But I just don't think that was the intent at that moment. And so I think the home plate ump had the right initial gut feeling about the play. But once the umpires got together, I think the thought then became, we need to keep this game under control. And you saw even with the ejection of Betances that Detroit responded anyway. So had they not gone through and ejected Betances, which was the initial gut reaction of the home plate umpire, I think that the game would have gotten even further out of control. So it's interesting with Joe Girardi's critical comments after the game that he thought the umpires didn't keep the game in check.
Well, here is why I think the umpires, other than that situation, because I do agree with you, they had to toss Betances, and that was the right call. But the two problems that I had with that, when Canley throws behind him, he immediately gets tossed. I understand, even though I don't love this old traditional baseball mentality, he beans a guy, so you got to do it and retaliate. But I don't believe Canley should have been tossed, and I thought every right of Joe Girardi to freak out yesterday. And then the other thing, which I still can't understand, how does Gary Sanchez not get ejected from that game after throwing sucker punch after sucker punch?
Do you think they saw it? If they saw it, if there was...
Can they use replay there?
No, they didn't. And
they should be able to in that
I
case.
agree. I think in this day and age that the umpires absolutely should be able to, because I think in the NBA you're allowed to see who came out onto the court,
Yes.
and you're allowed to see, because the rules are so strict.
In the flagrant review and all that.
Sure,
yeah.
You're allowed to see who left the bench if there is a scuffle in a basketball game and say, okay, you left the bench. That's clearly a rule, and I know those rules don't exist in baseball, but a rule certainly exists even if you come off the bench and you're holding people back. You're not allowed to then start throwing sucker punches, which the video clearly showed that he did. So I just think...
But here's the other thing. With that being said, if I'm Sanchez, because look at the memo MLB did send when they suspended the pitcher in the Bryce Harper situation more than Harper. And I know then people looking at bats and say, oh, well, they didn't really do that and everything like that. But from the game perspective, they gave more to the pitcher. If I'm Sanchez, and I don't defend him for what he did yesterday, but I could understand why he was a little bit more animated, where this guy's just doing his job, hitting prodigious home run after prodigious home run, and he gets hit for it. Like, let's not give him a pass for what he did, because what he did was wrong. But Fulmer was a jackass yesterday for what he did.
Well, it just comes down to, the other side of that where, yeah, just take your hit by pitch and let everything else resolve itself. So,
but why throw it in there?
Why throw it Sanchez?
Why
in the first
throw
place?
it him? It's stupid.
Totally, absolutely. I would never defend that. And then to get to where Canley throws behind Cabrera intentionally, yeah, there could have been a moment there where they warned both sides, and maybe that ends it. But I also think that by Girardi saying, the umpires let it get away. By ejecting Canely at that point, you're then implying, well, of course we had to come back and hit somebody. And you didn't, and I don't think it was intentional, but I think whether you warn both sides or whether you eject Tommy Canely and Girardi gets ejected as a result, I think it's over. It should be over either way.
How many years have you been doing play-by-play for minor league baseball?
6.
6. Have you ever seen a brawl?
Yes. Game 3 of the 2013 East Division Championship Series against Binghamton. Tomas Nido. Binghamton was down 2-0. It was in Binghamton. They had won the division title by plenty, similar to what the Thunder are going to do this year, where they're going to win by 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 games.
Run away with it.
Yeah, and Binghamton was just frustrated. They stranded some sort of crazy number, 15 left on base in that game. The Thunder won 3-1, and it was a late situation where there was a runner at first base, and so running to second base on a ground ball to try and break up a double play. And Thunder shortstop Ali Castillo came across the bag. It was a 4-6-3, came across the bag. The shortstop threw wildly to first, and it wasn't going to be in time to get the runner at first. It wasn't close, but the base runner went in spikes high, and so they called the runner out at first. It ended the inning, and it was maybe the 7th or 8th inning, and would have had the tying run at the plate still. Really could have kept a rally going, but it changed everything. So that base runner, and I think I said, did I say Danny Muno? Danny Muno's the base runner, and so he kind of started jawing at Ali Castillo, who at the time, unbeknownst to us, he was, kind of down a little bit, and kind of saying, hey, you sold it, why are you trying to fake the spikes and all that. Castillo needed stitches from the spike that he got in his shin, so it wasn't that he faked anything. Jose Perella, the second baseman, came over. Castillo kind of Ali didn't know English so well, so Danny Muno was chirping in English at Castillo, and then Jose Perella kind of came over, translated for Castillo, and then Castillo, once he realized what was being said to him, then got in the face of Danny Muno. And so it was a little bit of a language barrier, but that sort of sparked the whole benches clearing, bullpens emptied, and Muno was ejected. We had to look. I looked it up yesterday before the game. Muno was ejected, and nobody for the Thunder was, nor were they suspended for the championship series. So I don't remember how the fines were divvied up, and I do think a couple of players did get fined in that situation for Trenton.
Well, let me interrupt you because your broadcast partner finally did something that can actually help us on the air.
Hey, hi, John.
Right now, they just released the suspensions.
Okay.
So here's what happened. Tigers first baseman Miguel Cabrera has received a 7-game suspension. So he got 7 games. Gary Sanchez received a 4-game suspension. Tigers pitcher Alex Wilson received a 4-game suspension. Austin Romine gets 2 games. And the Tigers manager, Brad Ausmus, has received a 1-game suspension for the intentional action of Wilson while warnings were in place.
Did you say Austin Romine at all in there?
Yes, Romine
so
received a 2-game suspension.
So Gary was 4, Romine is 2.
Cabrera 7.
That feels
I think
right.
that's right.
That feels right.
Now, here's the one thing. Should Fulmer have gotten anything?
Should Betances have gotten anything? Yeah. And
I guess they wash it there on the pitchers.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think so.
I could live with that. I think they got it right, though, because even though Fulmer did instigate it, Cabrera takes it that step further. And with what Cabrera did, I think it's more fair that he got more games than Gary Sanchez. I'm fine with what the MLB did here.
Yeah, it is really interesting, though, with Romine and Miguel Cabrera both getting ejected in that same instance, that one gets 5 games more than the other. I mean, sure.
Well, what did Romine really do wrong? Let me ask you that.
Romine rather aggressively took the mask off. And obviously Miguel was saying things, and who knows, maybe Romine we couldn't see because of the face mask. Maybe he was actually initiating all of the conversation before Cabrera came after him. But, Cabrera certainly gave the first shove and then started throwing punches before Romine was even ready. And I thought just by taking him to the ground, Romine, the way he did that with Cabrera, that was probably the best thing he could have done to kind of keep it as contained as possible so that Romine wasn't just throwing punches too.
So now I guess what would happen is Sanchez, I guess, would appeal his suspension. Romine sits 2 days. At least you don't have to go with someone that's not currently on the roster. I guess that's the fair thing to say right now.
Yeah, but I don't believe the Yankees have a catcher on their 40-man roster right now besides those two, because Kyle Higashioka is on the disabled list in AAA, so that really becomes...
You still need to make a move.
Yeah, they do. They need to add somebody to the 40-man roster, and whether that's... they've got a guy in Eddie Rodriguez down in AAA who's got big league experience. Even Wilkin Castillo has big league experience as well. They're both up in AAA, and those guys are into their 30s. So for them to go up and, if Gary misses 4 games and it's Romine in there, you probably only need a catcher for one. I mean, Wilkin Castillo or Eddie Rodriguez can certainly go up and play 1 game in the big leagues and call a game and do just fine with that. But the question becomes adding that 40-man roster spot, because those are precious down the stretch, and you don't want to lose a young guy by taking him off the 40-man, and that really affects how things happen in September.
I'm just annoyed because I have tickets to the Yankee game on Sunday. I wanted to see Gary Sanchez play. Probably not going to see him, right?
Today, Friday?
Yeah.
Probably not.
Right?
If they
do, by my theory, let's just say Sanchez appeals, Romine serves the 2. Romine's back if the appeal's done by
Either way,
Saturday
if
night.
Sanchez starts serving today,
yeah,
or
he's
Romine
out for 4
starts
games either.
Today, it doesn't.
Anyway,
yeah, it really doesn't matter.
Jeez, this stinks now. I have a ticket to the game, and I wanted to go see Gary Sanchez play because he's been on fire.
Yeah, it's always
he's
how
been
it affects
so
you.
Good.
Yep.
Yeah, it is. It's selfish. It's the Zach Gelb show. It's not the Zach Gelb and other people's show. It's selfish. I'll be the first one to tell you. It's the ego of a radio host. Montgomery.
Yeah.
How about this situation? Not currently with the team right now. They brought him back for that Red Sox series, and I guess this is what they're going to do for the rest of the season, I guess. He was pitching well. I think he's better than Garcia, but I guess because you bring in Garcia, you got to continue to run with him, and also the pitching innings limitations.
Right. I think it mostly comes down to innings pitched and just wanting guys to be ready and able to pitch when you really need them. And not to say that starts in mid-September are more important, but I think you'd like to have that luxury. And if you determine that Jordan Montgomery is the guy you want making the last 3 turns in the rotation down the stretch, to then look at him and say, shoot, we're mortgaging his long-term future by throwing him however many more innings he's going to throw than a year ago. And it doesn't seem to me like it should be a huge issue. I was looking at his innings, and those SEC pitchers, I mean, they pitch a lot. And so it's not necessarily that Montgomery should be running out of innings because he wasn't hurt last year. He pitched a full slate of games last year into the postseason, and I think he should still have some innings. It's not like he's going back to AAA and skipping starts there either. I think it's just they're just trying to be careful and make sure that they've got their best horses down the stretch when needed.
What's the most impressive part about this Thunder team this year?
The roster moves. We're at 100. Right? We're at 198 of them,
and still 41 over.
And last year we were at 170 when the postseason ended. So I would imagine, and actually we've got a roster move today, so we're at 199 for the year.
Is someone going up?
Nope. Actually, Justice Sheffield is beginning a rehab assignment down with the Gulf Coast Yankees. So didn't even know that. Didn't notice he wasn't in there today. So we just got an email saying that he's beginning with his oblique rehab. So we know that he's been pitching simulated games for the Thunder the last week or so. So it's good that he's going to be getting game action, and talk about adding an arm down the stretch. He's been one of the best pitchers went out there in the Eastern League this year.
Who were your first 3 pitchers in the playoff series?
It's not
if you had to guess.
It doesn't really work out like that.
No?
I mean, I think the Thunder this year have the benefit of being able to set up their rotation slightly, but the way it works out, I mean, you can't plan too far in advance. These guys are still on schedules.
Guys can still get called up.
Yeah, guys can still get called up, and no matter how hard you try, all it takes is one game where a guy only goes 2 or 3 innings, hits a pitch limit early in the game, and all of a sudden then your bullpen becomes an absolute mess. So you really...
But in your opinion, right now on the roster, who are the 3 best starting pitchers?
Right now, I mean, coming off of his last start, Dylan Tate is somebody who...
he had a good game.
He had a great
That was day game, right?
Yeah, 7 2/3. Gave up 1 run, 6 strikeouts, 5 hits on just 83 pitches. He went 7 2/3. He was phenomenal, and he had given up runs in each of his first 2 starts. He had been not as sharp, I think, as we had hoped to see him, and he looked even better than advertised that last time out. So coming off that start, it's hard to dampen the expectations for Dylan Tate, but he looked great. Will Carter is starting tonight for the Thunder, and so Carter is a sinker ball pitcher who throws 95 to 97, doesn't strike out many, but just throws a hard sinker, and he really negates any ballpark that he's playing in where you figure, oh shoot, we're going to Reading, we're going to here or there. It's just no, he's going to throw ground balls, and yeah, some days he's going to have 8 base hits roll through the infield over 5 innings, and that's just the nature of it sometimes. But more often than not, he's great. And it's hard to discount. I mean, Domingo Acevedo has been limited to 5 innings his last month and a half because of innings total. So we're not. I don't know what that projects for the postseason. Sure. But Daniel Camarena has been with us for a couple of years, and even though it hasn't been the sharpest season for Cam, it's really hard to imagine him not stepping up in the postseason. Just a left-hander, 24-year-old. He's gone up. He got the victory in the clinching game for Scranton Wilkes-Barre in the International League Governors Cup Championship last year. So he pitched against Gwinnett, shut them down, and so he was up in AAA making an impact in the AAA postseason last year, and that just feels like the kind of guy that Camarena is.
All right, I'll end you on this as Adam Giardino is here with us, the great play-by-play voice of the Trenton Thunder, and you can hear him coming up later tonight on this station, 920 The Jersey. In 60 seconds or less, Nick Solak. He's coming on in a few minutes. Give me your impression so far on the youngster.
Yeah, Nick is somebody who down in Tampa started to pick up the power, and that was not necessarily expected of him. And the power that he's showing as a 22-year-old in professional baseball using wooden bats at this early juncture of his career. He was just a second-round pick last year out of Louisville. Great system, great school to go to.
Especially to that Illinois kid.
Yeah, and so for Solak, I think that's been the most surprising thing to see. Not just the home runs, he's hit 2 really impressive home runs, but to see the ball jump off the bat, even when he's hitting fly balls and even when he's not recording hits or extra base hits, it's really, really impressive to see exit velocity. We're so heightened to that nowadays, but just to see a ball get hit hard off the bat, ball leaves his bat just a little bit different than most 22-year-old middle infielders.
Great stuff, Adam. Enjoy the broadcast tonight, and if there is a celebration, I'll be in the locker room.
I've got your numbers, so it's on me if you don't come.
Sounds good. Zach Gelb Show will take a break. We'll be back outside of Arm & Hammer Park, and we broadcast through the Princeton Orthopedic Associates studios right after this.